There are a couple people who've been asking me for advice for the first couple hours of Final Fantasy XI. The answers to most of their questions were things that I myself didn't know about for an embarrassingly long amount of time. While I think Final Fantasy XI is one of, if not the best Final Fantasy game, I would be doing you a disservice if I failed to mention just how brutal the learning curve can be for new players. So, I'll be giving you tips regarding 5 gameplay aspects to hopefully make it easier for new players who decide to jump into the game and avoid many of the mistakes that I made when I first started playing. One of the first things on most players' minds when starting the game is, how do I make gil? Well, for new players, the best way to make gil is actually by making another type of currency called sparks. You earn sparks from doing Records of Eminence quests, which you can find in the menu. These sparks allow you to make gil really fast. You purchase Acheron shields from one of these NPCs in the level 79 to 90 category of equipment. This allows you to convert around 2,700 sparks to a little over 20,000 gil. But this isn't the only thing you can do with sparks. You can also buy sparks gear from these same NPCs for almost any level you're at. It's the easiest, most convenient way of gearing your character while you level. If you focus on getting sparks, your gil problem will mostly take care of itself for the beginning hours of the game. There are also 2 other types of currency that I want to point out for new players to keep an eye out for. The first is called copper vouchers. New players will want to get as many of these as possible, so don't even think about throwing them away. They can be a burden to store in your inventory, but thankfully if you trade them to one of these following NPCs, they'll store them for you, so they don't take up inventory or storage space. Copper vouchers can be exchanged for almost any other type of currency in the game, so having a few dozen on hand will mean you never run into small, unexpected currency shortages. The second type of currency that I want new players to be focusing on is called conquest points. The way you earn these is by talking to one of these gate guard NPCs in your starting city. They will cast a status effect on you called Signet. While you have this status effect, you will earn conquest points along with the experience points you earn while defeating monsters. You can buy a few highly valuable things with these conquest points, and this leads us to the second aspect of gameplay that I want to offer a couple tips on. One of the things you can buy with these conquest points is called a warp ring. This will take you a while to save up for, so you'll want to get Signet as early as you can. A few new players that I've talked to complain about how much backtracking there was to do in the game. Some of these players have already beaten multiple expansions and spent several hundred hours in the game, and surprisingly, they never learned about this warp ring. The warp ring allows you to fast travel back to your home point. This will save you hours upon hours of backtracking, and it really modernizes the game, so you'll want to grab the warp ring as early as possible. Since I mentioned home points, let's talk about fast travel. I strongly recommend setting your home point to a crystal near a survival guide. Home points and survival guides are the 2 main forms of fast travel in the game today. Talking to one of them allows you to fast travel to any other one that you've talked to before. So it goes without saying, anytime you're out in a zone and you see a survival guide or a home point that you haven't talked to yet, be sure to talk to it so that you can fast travel back there again. The reason I recommend setting your home point to one that is near a survival guide is so that when you use your warp ring, you'll be close to both a home point and a survival guide for fast travel. This essentially means that you are only a few minutes away from almost every part of Final Fantasy XI's world. While these are the 2 most common forms of fast travel, they aren't the only forms. Another form of fast travel that you'll use a lot is called Unity Warp. Upon joining a Unity, which you should definitely do as soon as possible, you can fast travel to locations you've never been to before by talking to one of these NPCs, and giving them another type of currency you'll find yourself accumulating while earning sparks. I don't recommend using this too often, as it takes away from the feeling of exploration that the game is so well beloved for, but sometimes using Unity Warp could save you literal hours of dungeon crawling, so it is a huge help on occasion. As far as the other forms of fast travel, You have staging points in Treasures of Adargan, Campaign Warp in Wings of the Goddess, Geomagnetic Founts in Seekers of Adulin, and a bunch of others, but none of these are as useful as home points and survival guides and Unity Warping for that matter. The last thing you need to focus on in terms of traversal is unlocking mounts as soon as possible. The quest to unlock mounts is called Full Speed Ahead, and you can learn about it and all of its requirements on either Final Fantasy Encyclopedia or BG Wiki. In Final Fantasy XI, you'll be spending at least several dozen hours grinding, so you'll want to be sure that you're getting the most out of your grinding sessions as possible. Remember the conquest points we talked about earlier? Another accessory you can get is the Empress Band. The Empress Band gives you a bonus to your rate of earning experience by 50%. There is a cap to how much experience points you can earn while using this band, but it resets every so often, and you can recharge the accessory with the same conquest points I was talking about. There are a couple other accessories that do the same thing, but the Empress Band will be the most useful early on. As far as the superior accessories, if you as a new player get the Echad ring, forget all about the Empress Band, that is way better. But if you aren't, then you'll want to be sure that you have one of these and activate it every single time you grind some levels. You can't talk about grinding efficiency without talking about trusts. Once you hit level 10, be sure to do the following quest line to unlock trusts. Collect as many of these alter egos as possible. The more you have, the more options you'll have when you grind or when tackling challenging story bosses. The two best trusts that you'll really want early on is Valenerl, which is a phenomenal tank, and Shantoto 2, which you can buy with login points every few months. These two are, in my opinion, the two best trusts that you can get early on in the game. There are also plenty of great passive trusts, like Koopafried, who multiplies the amount of experience you earn every time you fight, Sakura and Moogle, which allow you to increase your skill levels faster, and plenty more. If you are playing through the story of Final Fantasy XI using the Rhapsodies of Vana'diel order that I had talked about in my story guide video, you'll want to progress those missions as soon as possible too. They reward you with certain key items that allow you to summon more trusts at a time, gain more experience per kill, and so much more. The quality of life that Rhapsodies of Vana'diel adds to Final Fantasy XI cannot be understated, and unless you're really focused on getting absolutely everything you can out of the story of this game, then keeping up with the Rhapsodies of Vana'diel missions will make your playing experience so much smoother. It will not take long at all before you realize how clunky the inventory system in this game is. If you find yourself filling your Mog house with things that you don't want to throw away, hopefully this section helps you out just a little bit. There are plenty of NPCs all around the game world who will store important items for you, so these items don't take up precious inventory space or storage space. Moogles in these locations will store any crystal you trade them. Shami in Port Juno will store your crests and seals. These A-Man NPCs will store copper vouchers, like I've mentioned before. And Grayson will store silver vouchers. Getting rid of your vouchers, crystals, crests, and seals will make managing your inventory significantly easier, without the guilt of throwing away something you know you'll use in a later day. In addition to this, you'll want to be saving up some gil too. There are a set of expensive quests you can do to expand your inventory, and you can accept these quests from Bluffnicks in Lower Juno, so be sure to keep up with these. The last thing I would recommend to new players is organizing your chat boxes. I have mine split into two. The box on the left is for dialogue and cutscenes, and here is how I have that box filtered. The second box is set for gameplay messages, and this is also how I have this one filtered. This may not be to your liking, so play around with each of these sets of filters to find out how precisely you like your chat boxes set up. I hope this video is helpful. Be sure to stop back anytime you think you've missed something useful. I'm trying to make this game as accessible as possible for new players, so if you know someone who might find this video useful, please do share, and thank you for watching.